Hi, welcome to the Crystal Cabin on the Mothership. Lovely to see you today with your beautiful smile. Do you want to introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and what makes you happy?
Of course. Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me on the Crystal Cabin. I feel very, very privileged. So I am Pauline Ronan, and some of you know me already. I am an NLP life coach and trained to be a human-given psychotherapist.
Wow.
And I've been, yeah, thank you very much. It sounds very grand. And I've been a teacher for 20 years. And the thing really that makes me happy is about community. I am one of 6 girls. I've got 5 sisters, so I'm surrounded by women.
Oh, your poor dad.
My poor dad, absolutely. And the things that make me happy is really family, community, helping other people to find solutions is really central to my friendships, to my family, to the work I do. And I'm a big runner. I love running. I ran my first marathon 2018, and I aim for a 5K most mornings. I'm certainly not fast, but I really enjoy just the liberation. And I have a beautiful dog, Goldie, who runs with me as well. So her and I are like running companions.
Oh, that's lovely. 5K
yeah.
every morning. That's amazing.
Try to, absolutely.
That's amazing. There's a group of us on the Mothership that did Couch to 5K for the NHS a couple of weekends ago, and I was thinking I was doing well because I did it again the following weekend, and you're doing it every day. Oh, it was
That's
walking.
amazing.
Don't get too impressed.
Still, no, absolutely. As soon as you're out exercising, I always say to my friends and clients, you're actually getting free drugs.
Yeah.
So you're getting the endorphins, the serotonin, the dopamine, and things that might seem troublesome when you leave the house. Whenever you come back, you often look at it in a totally different way.
Yeah. Yeah, I love being outdoors. Couldn't agree with you more. That's lovely, Pauline. Thank you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your background? Did you just say you were a teacher?
Yeah, so I live in Liverpool, and I came to Liverpool 20 years ago for a year to do my PGCE. Little did I know I get a permanent job, meet my husband, have my son. So 20 years on, I run a busy department in high school. I'm also on the leadership team there, and I am the well-being lead. And it was that really, all of those experiences and constantly building rapport, working with teachers and staff and pupils, that led me to realize I had something more to give than just being in the classroom. And it was there where I really began to explore something else other than just being a teacher.
So it was this that's inspired you to do your business today?
Yes, I guess, well, there was a couple of things. Certainly the career I was in, the most pivotal thing for me was after I had my son, who's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful, probably about 3 years afterwards, I felt really lost. I just didn't I didn't quite know who I was. I felt a little bit disconnected. My thoughts and feelings just felt disconnected. And even though I was plodding along, I didn't feel like I was living my real best life. I didn't have a particularly good soundtrack in my head. So when I woke up in the morning, I was thinking, oh, another day. But I didn't feel like I wanted to bounce out of bed and just really live and be really alive, be really alive to opportunities. So I was listening to this for a while, and I thought, I'm actually sick of this soundtrack. I need to do something about it. So people had said about yoga. So I started going to yoga, and I went along to a yoga studio, and they were so lovely. And then from there, they encouraged me to meditate. So I was doing some meditation. I felt, the vibrancy was beginning to come back. And then my sister said, Pauline, would you ever consider running? It's like, no, can barely even run for a bus. So anyway, I started running, and I'd run a little bit, and I get shin splints, and I have a big red face, and I was out of breath. Whenever I go back to the house, I just feel fantastic. So I was feeling that. I was beginning to feel reinvigorated. And then I saw this thing on the internet about coaching. I didn't even know what coaching was. And it said, come along Wednesday night, 6:30 to the Quaker Centre in town. And I thought, well, I don't know what it is, but I wouldn't mind exploring. just stuff a little bit more. So went along, and it was a husband and wife, George and Julie, who run this an NLP coaching. And when I got there, they said, have you ever had like a negative soundtrack in your head? I was thinking, yes. They said, do you ever have like an inner dialogue where you're just not being your best self? Yes. Do you ever feel like you've much more to give? I was like, yes. I said, well, coaching's right for you. And they began to coach me.
Yeah.
And I felt like somebody had got a massive key and just went and unlocked this potential. And any fears I had about change, they got me to address fears and reframe them. And they got me to think about, well, is there anything you want to do in your future? And I was able to sit for like an hour and a half, and said, yeah, I actually do. I would love to have a hybrid career where I can teach and do something else. I'd love to write my own book, thinking they might laugh and go, don't be daft.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, great. And so they helped me to really unlock my own potential.
Fantastic.
And to listen to the soundtrack that I was using in my head and really change it around.
I love how you refer to that inner chatterbox as a soundtrack, because that just really gives that impression that it's going on and on and on a playlist, on a loop. Because it is, isn't it? That inner chatterbox is definitely a soundtrack. That's an amazing story and really inspiring. So did you go on, dare I ask, did you go on to write your book? Do you want to tell us about your business and how you help people, women in well-being and mental health in what you do today?
Absolutely. So from there, I decided that I would train and become an NLP coach. And for those people who aren't familiar with the term NLP, it's just about the neuro-linguistics programming. It's the information you're feeding your brain and the information that's coming out that you're feeding to the rest of the world. And sometimes whenever you have a coaching session, you're just talking so freely. But when somebody relays back to the things you have said, and I do this day in, day out with particularly women, they are fascinated about how they have really undersold themselves on so many occasions. Sorry, were you going to say something there, Michelle?
I probably was. Don't worry, I'm listening.
Yeah, it's all right.
I don't want to interrupt you. But
no, that's absolutely fine. And also, whenever we look particularly at women are normally the glue in the family. Women are normally the people who bring families together, who are normally the matriarch in the family. They normally do all of the emotional work. Certainly, and this will all ring bells for you and your listeners. But we often call it, when I teach sociology, we call it the triple shift. And the triple shift. So women since about the 50s have been back to work. They are getting their career going. So you've got that shift. Mm-hmm. You then have the shift of all the housework when you get home. Then you have the shift of the settling squabbles, sorting out the emotional work. And so women often leave themselves at the bottom of the pile.
That's right, yeah.
That they give and give and give, and they end up an empty cup. Mm-hmm. And so it's reminding women that it's absolutely fine to put yourself at the top, because self-care is not selfish. It's the most selfless thing you can do. Mm-hmm. And if you cast your mind, I know it's been a while for everybody, the last time you were on a flight, mm-hmm. and when you're buckling in and getting yourself ready to go, and then the hostess or the host over the tannoy will say, in the case of emergency, make sure you put on your oxygen mask first.
Yeah.
And often I've thought about this because I have a little son. I thought, I wonder why I don't put his on first. Mm. But of course, if I'm not looking after me, I cannot serve anybody else.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And a lot of what you're talking about, I actually say to people too, so it's quite interesting to hear you say the same. Yeah, absolutely. We do tend to put ourselves last on our own list and feel that we need permission to take that time out, or as you say, feel guilty, or try and justify it. I always find women try to justify it, and my mum's terrible for it even now. You know, she's been retired quite some time. her time is her own, and if you go and you just open the door and she happens to be sat down, she'll say, oh, I was just, and try and make an excuse. Yeah. And it's like, it's fine, just sit down, it's allowed, it's what you need to do. Then go right ahead, I'll make you a brew. So I completely relate to what you're saying. And NLP is an amazing way of helping people to see their true potential, as you say. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's nothing but a privilege to work with women. So today already I've been a call with a lady in North Wales. I've been a call with a lady in New York as well, who was an Irish lady who lives in New York. Yeah. And for both of those, they were really, really underselling themselves. And so whenever I work with my clients, I have a very clear model where I will think about, how do you feel right now? Where exactly would you like to be, and what's stopping you? What is holding you back?
Mm-hmm.
And similar to yourself, Michelle, I use a lot of visualization, tap into a lot of the inner resources that exist there already, and just by reminding people that actually you are resilient, or you are, the things that they really feel that they are lacking at that time. Going back, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, you making me think of the ladies, it's the self-worth, isn't it, as well? Struggle with self-worth. I'm not worthy of, I don't deserve, almost as if that's for somebody else and not for me. It's really sad. There's so many.
It is incredibly sad. And because I suppose for women, they have often occupied a really subordinate role, because many of our females are in low paying jobs. And part of the reason is because, it suits their lifestyle in terms of perhaps like all the cleaners we have in our work, they're all female. But whenever you ask them, I have lots of chats, is there anything else you'd like to do? Oh, miss, no, I wouldn't be able to do anything else. Thinking, so it's that whole self-perception, and the joy I have in the work that I do is really challenging that self-perception. And you can see, I've seen women, their face actually changes, their face begins to open up, and this world of possibility, exactly the experience I had, that world of possibility, using very clear visualization and introduce them to solutions, think back, problem solving, and you actually can reach your own conclusions. You can reach your own solutions by tapping into those resources that you have in abundance already.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. A lot of self-belief needs to come into that too. That's linked in with the lack of self-worth and the limiting beliefs. And what you're talking about is a fabulous way of reframing. You want to talk about reframing? Sure.
Yes, absolutely. Well, so then I had been posting and most of you have seen the mothership, the teachings I put on to Facebook and Instagram every morning. So I will have like a teaching using some psychoeducation, because I'm really into to develop an understanding. Having been a teacher for a long time, I think the more knowledge we have, then the more you can understand the processes that your body's going through. And whether that's through times of joy or times of real challenge. So I decided then, I was posting for probably about 12 weeks. And I thought, hey, if I don't do something with these, they're just going to go into the ether and be forgotten about. So I went back to that idea where I said to my coach, I'd quite like to write a book. And I did. I wrote a book, which is the pocket book of positivity and reframing. And it sold 200 copies within 14 days.
Oh, wow.
I was just overwhelmed
by. Mind blown, yeah.
Mind blowing. And what I feel really happy about is that for every book I sell, what £1 goes to Papyrus.
Oh.
And Papyrus is very much about suicide prevention. And certainly the families I've worked with, I've lost quite a few students through suicide. And I just think if they had been asked that vital question, are you feeling suicidal? If you had education, we could have actually saved so many lives. So by contributing to my book, you're actually helping a very, very important cause. And that's something that I feel is very important to me.
Oh, you should be really proud of yourself.
Yeah. So in addition to that, like I said, we use a lot of visualization, positivity, and I'm just looking forward to the possibilities that this opportunity has brought for me.
That's amazing. So inspiring to think that you've come from, I know there's something missing and I can't put my finger on it, and exploring. You see, they do say, don't they, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. You've
I love
obviously
that
met,
quotation.
yeah, you've met that couple at the perfect time, and look how it's evolved. I mean, you're obviously really happy with what you're doing.
Very.
You can see that his energy is
Thank
sparkling,
you.
beautiful, and it is lovely for hearing you say that when you went to those coaching sessions, you started to receive the coaching for yourself. I think that's important when you do anything well-being wise or mental health wise for anybody else, to know that you've dealt with your own demons and had some healing before you offering healing to other people as well. But it's lovely that people can relate, to say that, oh, you understand, you felt it too. It takes all the barriers
Absolutely.
away.
Well, without a shadow of a doubt, and certainly some of the ladies I work with who are experiencing anxiety, who are experiencing depression, certainly when you're on that circuit, that soundtrack, you really just think it's you. You think everybody else has got this sussed, it's just me. And to have that conversation to say, you know what you're experiencing is totally normal. Just those two words to be told, I'm actually normal, is lovely. Because whenever, if you are in a place of anxiety, depression, it can be very isolating. And to be reminded that actually, no, you are part of a much wider group of people who are experiencing exactly the same thing. It's very, very reassuring.
It is indeed. You're just frozen
Definitely.
there, but
Yeah,
we
it's
can
all
still
right.
hear you. Oh, you're back again. So we'll
There we go.
continue. You talk about emotions and how the role of a woman is involved in the emotional side of the family setup as well. And just then when you're saying it's okay to realize that how you're feeling is fine, it's okay, you're not on your own, it's normal. I think feelings and emotions are something that a lot of people struggle to express, because we've been sort of conditioned to suppress and to not, man up or be a big girl. We kind of stuff things down, saying, I'll be okay, don't talk to me, don't be nice to me, and really all that needs to come out. Yeah, all needs to be released.
Absolutely.
Completely wrong,
Absolutely.
push it away. And yet that's been our reprogramming through paradigms over different generations to, shh, don't let the neighbours see, or
Absolutely.
if we're not allowed to be outward, and we need to be more outward with our emotions and feelings.
You have tapped upon some things that I completely concur with. The first is, I guess, society builds a social construct, and a social construct are the things that we have to do in order to conform. So if somebody asks you, how are you? Oh, I'm fine. Even if you've spent that morning crying, oh, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Which is completely fabricated, but there's no way you want to put it onto somebody else, because this social construct tells us that we shouldn't do. But the other thing, Michelle, you've really made me think of is, if the emotions don't come out, where do they go? And often we internalize suffering, we internalize feelings, emotions, and people who are developing neck pain, I bet you see it all the time, neck pain, shoulder pain, back pain, stomach pain. They are holding in this inflammation, and it has got nowhere else to go.
No, that's right. And healing, any emotions that are trapped in the body that are not released do actually manifest over time as ailments. And sometimes the body would rather give you a pain in the shoulder or the back or the neck that you can deal with better than you perhaps deal with the truth of the emotion of what's really going on. So yeah, the body's so complex but so clever. It's fascinating. Absolutely
Absolutely.
fascinating.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah. The other thing I always encourage my clients to do, and for some it's completely new, is to actually label emotions. So whenever, say, if you're standing making the dinner and you're chopping carrots and you're feeling frustrated, just to it's actually known as the struggle switch. So just say, frustration's here. And not to think, oh, it's here, I have to do something about it. Just to actually recognize and acknowledge and say, okay, for frustrations here, and just welcome it in. Because Of course, that is something you probably do all the time.
Yeah, yeah, I can relate to that. It's a nudge. It's your body poking you to say, "Oi, you're not happy. You need to do something about it to change how you feel." So rather than ignore it or suppress it again, it's acknowledging it, honor it, thank it, and do something to change it. Oh, you and I could talk for hours around
We
this
will. Completely and utterly will, for sure.
Yeah. So are you hoping to do this kind of work full time eventually? Are you still doing your teaching alongside?
Yeah, so I'm still doing teaching, but I have asked for a 4-day week come September. And the way really I would like to do this is that I would like to very gradually exit. So I mean, I still love being in the classroom. So even if I could maintain a 2-day week, because the pupils keep you very grounded. They keep you very grounded, and those interactions are just so valuable. And I'm also mindful that we're in my lesson every day. I always have mindfulness. So the pupils probably thinking, "Oh my goodness," but actually no, they don't, because whenever they're in my room, it's very calm, and I will talk to them a lot, even in the middle of teaching a subject. I will talk to them all about psychoeducation. I'll drop it in wherever I possibly can, so that I'm reminding pupils, even in the midst of really tough times, that they do have resilience, that they do have coping skills, because whether we like it or not, anxiety and depression in teenagers is on the rise massively.
Yeah, it's so sad that, isn't it? It's a shame because we're hearing about well-being and mental health all of the time, and yet these kind of coping strategies were never previously included in education in my day. So it's so lovely to hear that your students are blessed to get your knowledge passed on, and you have a lovely voice and a really calming way about you.
Thank you.
So they're going to really benefit as individuals for the rest of their life with having. We need to see more of that, don't we, in that age group, really, for it to change, come into a new paradigm, really.
Absolutely. Well, I'm in the middle of writing another book, which is it's a teacher's survival guide for teachers, written by teachers. But there are also strategies in there about how to really, to use the resources you have to pass them on to your pupils. And I think for most teachers I know, it is an absolute vocation. And there are so many pieces of wisdom you can pass on very subtly and very discreetly on your day in, day out contact with the pupils who are in front of you.
That's lovely. That's really good. So see how you just pop that in as if it was an everyday occurrence. I'm just doing my second book. How amazing. What
Thank you,
advice
Michelle.
would you give to people that would love to write a book but just wouldn't know where to start? How did you get started with that, with everything else that you've had going on around you?
Yeah. I guess there's a couple of things. The really big thing is that I meditate every morning. That's totally non-negotiable. So I have 10 minutes, and I've done that for about the last 18 months. And it feels like this creativity switch has just been turned on, that, it feels like any blockages have just been removed and I can flow. But the big thing is, if you have an idea for a book, or if you have something in your head, just write. Just sit at your keyboard and just write. Don't worry about conforming to, because I'm actually using my hands, because it almost seems like being hemmed in. Don't feel you've got to be hemmed into a very particular regime. Just write. Get the words onto the page, no matter what way they are. Get it all out. And then whenever it's all out, then you can go back and you can refine and you can edit, but get it out. And people buy stories. People love to hear a story.
Yeah, I can agree with that, absolutely. Well, your story is beautiful, really inspiring.
Thank you.
Lovely, really motivating as well. I know, really, you must post the link to your books in the conversation once it's gone live. And now, so tell us then, coming out of the lockdown, more of us are coming back to the new normal. What does that look like for you? And what advice would you give to anybody that might be feeling a little bit let's say, fearful, a bit anxious about the changes ahead at the moment, not knowing what we're going to come into? How do you handle it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the lady I spoke to earlier on in New York, whose business, she is a florist who does all the big wedding things. You know, her business has just gone bust. And when I spoke to her, she was really weepy, and she was just really sad that everything she'd built at the moment, it feels like, you know, it is, you know, for her, it just felt very, very insurmountable. So I would go right back to a time whenever you feel really strong. I would go back in your mind, and I'll happily do this with you. Think of a time where you feel strong, in control, know what you're doing, and recall that time.
Yeah.
And think about it. I am strong. I can do this. I am completely resilient, even though you mightn't feel it at the time. I'd recommend that. I'd recommend exercise. 2 hours of exercise a week is the equivalent to taking antidepressants. So getting out, even for 15 minutes, I would recommend have your trainers by the door.
Yeah.
Because problems before you leave the house that seem huge, when you come back, you think, oh, do you know what? They might still be huge, but they mightn't be as bad as you thought before you left the house. If you stay in the house and just pull the duvet over your head, they're just going to get worse.
Yeah.
So out and about, routine, good diet, and looking outwards, getting a community. So exercise, routine. If you are feeling weepy, get yourself some vitamin B12, get that energy levels back up. And I'm sure you can talk for hours, Michelle, about the different supplements you could take that are natural as well. But I would say routine, out and about, community, good diet, and going back to that time when you were strong.
Yeah, fabulous advice. Amazing. I've really enjoyed chatting to you, Pauline. I'm sure the listeners, where can we find you? If we want to know more about you and your business, do you have a website or social media?
Yeah, I do. My website's almost ready, but what I forgot to mention before, and this will explain the name, is I do a lot of work with clients where we actually walk and talk. So as well as doing on Zoom, whenever it's socially acceptable. So for example, I live close to the beach in Crosby. So some of my clients, we go into the sand dunes, we'll do like a visualization in the sand dunes, then we'll go for a walk, then we'll stop again, do a nice meditation, so that we're getting those free drugs. And that's the reason why my business is called Step Forward. So you can go on to on Instagram, it's stepforward.coaching. On Facebook, it's just Pauline Ronan. And then my website will be up and running soon. I do offer coaching packages. I offer coaching packages. You can buy my book, and I'm going to be running retreats and coaching academy in the next sort of 6 months.
Fantastic. Now there's a can-do attitude for you, very positive outlook. And I'm going to be doing this in the next time. You've got the vision, the dream, the passion, and the timescale all in one. Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm sure our paths will cross again once we're allowed to play out.
Absolutely.
And together again for Network She. I look forward to seeing you in person.
Thank you, Michelle. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Very welcome, darling. See you soon. Take care.